Hey everyone, this video will cover the 7th chapter, which is organization and management. So an organizational structure refers to the different levels of authority and division of responsibilities within an organization. The features of an organizational chart are that it's a hierarchy, so there are different levels and each level has a different level of authority. And it is organized into departments, and each department has its own particular job or function. As there are different levels of management, there is a chain of command, and this is a very important term. Chain of command is how authority and power is passed down from the top to lower levels of management. Moving on to the advantages of an organization chart. The chart shows how everybody is linked together in the organization, so all the employees know which communication channel is used to reach them with information about instructions and other messages. Every individual can see their own position in the organization, so they can identify exactly who they are accountable to and who they have authority over. It also shows the links and relationships between the departments in the organization, and since everyone is in a particular department, they get a sense of belonging. Moving on to the second key concept, that is chain of command and span of control. I already explained chain of command, so span of control is the number of workers, number of subordinates working directly under a manager. An organization with a tall organization structure would have a long chain of command and a considerably smaller span of control for each manager. Whereas an organization with a wide organization structure would have a short chain of command and bigger span of control for each manager. So the link between span of control and chain of command is that when the chain of command is longer, the narrower the span of control and taller the organization structure, and similarly when the chain of command is shorter, the span of control will be wider. Now let's look at the advantages of a short chain of command. So the communication is quicker and more accurate as there are less levels to pass through before reaching the intended person. And the top managers are more accessible and less remote to the lower levels of hierarchy, so this may encourage employees to work harder. Moreover, the span of control would be wider, so each manager would be responsible for more subordinates, and this is beneficial because firstly, since the manager is responsible for more people, it may encourage them to delegate more. And secondly, there will be less direct control over each worker, so they could feel more trusted as they're able to take more decisions by themselves, which could lead to higher job satisfaction. Moving on, there are two types of managers, line and staff. Line managers are ones who have direct responsibility over the people below them in the hierarchy of an organization, whereas staff managers are specialists who provide support, assistance, and information to line managers. Moving on to the role of management. There's mainly 5 roles of a manager: planning, organizing, coordinating, controlling, and commanding. Planning, as in setting targets and aims for the future, which would give an organization a sense of purpose and direction. For example, an organization may plan to reduce the total budget cost by 10% in 2 years' time. Secondly, the second role of management is organizing. A successful manager needs to organize people and resources effectively, and they need to make sure that they delegate tasks to people who have the ability and resources to complete these tasks successfully. And they also need to make sure that specialization occurs and 2 people don't end up doing the same task. The third role is coordinating. This basically means bringing people in the organization together. The different departments in an organization usually work separately without making much contact with people from other departments. However, there is no point in the marketing department planning the launch of a new product unless they have coordinated with the operations department, as the operations department would have to make the product at the right time and in the right quantities. Therefore, the role of a good manager is to coordinate the departments so that the organization works together to achieve their goals. Fourth is commanding. Managers need to make sure that supervisors and workers are keeping to targets and deadlines. And they also must provide necessary information and instructions and guidance about the tasks that they delegate. Lastly, controlling. Managers must try to measure and evaluate the performance of individuals and groups of individuals to make sure that they are on target. And the next concept is delegation. It means giving a subordinate the authority to perform particular tasks. Now let's look at the advantages of delegation for the manager. It reduces their workload as they cannot do every task themselves. And managers are less likely to make mistakes if some of the tasks are performed by their subordinates. Also, it would make measuring the success of their staff more easy as they can see how well they have done in performing the tasks delegated to them. Moving on to the advantages of delegation for the subordinate. Firstly, it makes the work more rewarding and interesting. Secondly, delegation can help train workers, so it could give them career opportunities and they could move upwards in the organization's hierarchy. And lastly, the employee feels more important as they believe trust is being put in them to perform a job well. However, some managers may be afraid that the worker may not be able to complete the task successfully, so they may want to control everything themselves. Therefore, there needs to be trust in order to reduce control over workers. Moving on to the next concept of leadership. Leadership styles are the different approaches to dealing with people when in a position of authority. The different styles are autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire. So the first kind of leadership is autocratic. Autocratic leadership is when the manager expects to be in charge of the business and to have their orders followed. So there's little or no opportunity for the workers to comment on anything, and the communication is mainly one way, top down or downward. Second is democratic leadership, which gets the employees involved in the decision-making process. So the communication is two-way, that is upward and downward. And lastly, laissez-faire is where the broad objectives of the business are made known to the employees, but then they are left to make their own decisions and organize their own work. So the communication can be difficult in this type of organization, as clear direction would not be given. Next, let's look at trade unions, which are groups of workers who have joined together to ensure that their interests are protected. The benefits of joining a trade union are that there's strength in numbers and it could lead to a better, improved work environment in terms of health and safety, noise, heating, cleanliness, etc. There could also be improved benefits for members who are not working, as in if they're sick, retired, or made redundant. Also, trade unions encourage training, so this could increase job satisfaction. And lastly, advice or financial support may be provided by trade unions to a member who thinks they have been unfairly dismissed or made redundant. Now, let's look at the disadvantages. The first is that it costs money to be a member, and secondly, members may have to take industrial action even when they don't agree. So that's all the concepts for this video. Thank you for watching.